Hello everyone, my name is Brenda Salmeron, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what happened to me a couple years ago. A couple years ago, I was helping my dad out at his store when a family of natives came inside the store and they were talking in their own language. It was very strange to me because I had never heard people that looked like Mexicans like myself speaking in another language, and it was very fast, very I thought it was very secretive and something in that kind of range. But when I learned about them and their traditions when my dad started to get close to them. It was when I was around 12 years old. So it was 5 years ago, or 5 to 6 years ago. And it was when they began getting close and my dad ended up baptizing one of their daughters. I lived in India with only my parents and my siblings, so it was very strange and new to me to get to know another family that I have not grown up with. My family lives pretty far and they were very new to me getting to know them. And when I first went to their party, it was something that I thought was like a quinceañera, but instead they were celebrating their 3-year-old. And it was a huge party. It was all the ladies were dressed up in fancy dresses. The little girl had like her quince dress, but for a 3-year-old. So it was very cool to me to see because it was so strange but beautiful. The decorations were totally like indigenous and very natural. They made them by themselves. So it was very nice getting to know about their culture. Well, I started growing up and I was getting more open-minded to this, and it was honestly very cool. So my first real intercultural experience began at the age of 12 years old. So that day when I decided to help my dad at the shop, it was honestly a mind-changing experience. From there and on, I began seeing more families come in and all speaking the same language. At first, my thoughts were, why are you guys talking in a secretive language behind my back? Like, I felt very not offended, but very strange, because I would tell them a price, my dad would tell them a price of the object, and they would talk in their language, and then they would talk back in Spanish. So I thought we had like the same culture because we both spoke Spanish. I'm like, oh, we're both Mexican, but then they would hit us with that language, and I never asked my dad. I always like to observe for myself. So it was very cool. And back to that one time when I went to their party, it was actually very cool, and I was observing a lot because, like I said, their decorations were very different, and the adults, in various manners, they would love to go to their fullest. They had music such as banda and mariachi, and I was alone most of the time because my parents were invited to go to the adults section, and I had to do my effort to talk to the children, which was very cool. But it was also interesting to ask them if I can play with them, and then they would go to the side, speak their language, and then come back and be like, yeah, you can come along. So it was very interesting and cool to see. So throughout time, I learned that these families were very hardworking, very connected, because as the more the time that I began visiting them, I saw that their houses are back to back, and all of their family is like their own community. They had their own little neighborhood, you could call it. Like, they were just so attached, which I did admire. I liked it a lot. Their communication with me grew better and better the more we got to know about them. So I learned that the more we talked to them, the more we interacted with them, the more they opened up to us, and I felt a lot more respected and more welcomed, most of all. So from there, I learned that, like, I shouldn't judge another culture just because they're not talking to me or they're talking in their language. It's not necessarily meaning as I thought, talking behind my back. So it was very cool learning about them, and also they were able to introduce many meals, different meals to me. They were not Mexican, Mexican meals, but they were, I don't know how to explain them, but they were very different from what my mom had and my grandma cooked for us. So their homes were always very like small, and they had big families, but they were always so connected, so welcoming once we get connected. So honestly, my dad being able to be the godfather, being able to baptize one of their children was very cool, because I learned that the more connected we really are religiously, the more connected they allowed us to be with them. And throughout time, it's cool seeing more of them throughout the valley. Most of them are based in the Mecca area, so seeing them go into the shop even to this day, I feel much better, and I love to give them the best service and not hold myself back from offering whatever, because honestly my mindset has changed. And yeah, so having only one family in the valley, which is my parents and my siblings, was very hard growing up, because I thought everybody would be like us, like not like us, but like our culture, the Mexican culture. And honestly, it was very cool being able to see that. So overall, I feel very lucky to have a life experience in that manner, that it was brought to me by my father because of his business. So it was very cool. And I wasn't always aware of the meaning of the difference of cultures at the time, and for that I am very glad that I can use that now to gain from this class especially. So now I have a better understanding, and I engage better. So it's easy to look at others different from our culture. We tend, and I catch myself even now to this day, but I do now, like I've learned, I have a perception check. So what I used to do, like I would always be like, oh well, we don't do that, so that's just weird. No, not really. I've learned that because we don't do that, it's something different that I am learning from this. And from our culture, we just tend to compare what they do as if we're the main culture, but no, that's not the case. And now I understand that it is better to perceive them from a new self perspective and take in all the new that they have presented us in my personal life. And for that, I am very grateful that I have learned so much from this close indigenous native culture coming from the valley, which I never knew were here, but I'm glad that I learned all of this from my dad's business. So overall, I am so open to now learn more about other cultures and have a better open mindset. So yes, thank you for listening to me today, and I hope you guys take care. Thank you.